I'm joined here by Anil Srivastava, CEO of Swiss battery maker and energy solution provider Leclanche. Thank you for joining us, Anil.
Thank you.
The first question I want to ask you, as a battery specialist, can you comment on when EVs may become more cost competitive with internal combustion engine vehicles? Is there a tipping point in terms of battery costs?
When you say EV, I suppose you mean electric cars,
Yes.
right? And I think first and foremost, if we have to focus on customers. The expectation on range has to be as good or better than what customers get today. And that happens to be around 500 to 600 kilometers per full gas tank or per one charge. If you put that in perspective, what I believe that with 30% improvement in energy density, going from an average 230 watt hours, 230 watt hours per kilo to about 300 watt hours per kilo, I mentioned this to you last year, this 30+% improvement will bring down EV and ICE parity for electric cars to about mid-range in 12 to 18 months time frame. So that's what I think we will achieve. Instead of EV being at the top end, I believe it will be competitive at the mid-range cars which are costing around $25,000 upwards.
And we often focus on consumer cars and kind of passenger cars, but how important will things like fleet buyers be and heavier types of transport?
I'm glad you asked that question. Frankly, if we look at the fleet, the impact fleets have on carbon emissions are put together greater than cars. Electric cars in Europe are typically 13% of the CO2, if you like, pollution, right? Marine vessels, all inclusive in EU waters, is about the same, 13%. Add to that buses, trucks, trains. Okay, it's very significant. Second is these are commercial business cases. These are not emotional purchases. So I do believe the battery technology today is already competitive for fleet vehicles.
And in terms of charging, does having kind of that commercial fleet and kind of fleet charging make it easier to kind of overcome the kind of lack of charging facilities available now and to overcome those barriers?
Indeed, as you know, fleet by definition, you know the route, where it's going to go from a point A, B, C, and Z, right? So you can plan the charging infrastructure, the battery on board together. If you have more charging infrastructure, more time to charge, you put lesser kilowatt hours capacity on board, and vice versa. So it gives a smart planning, integrated planning between battery on board and the charger.
And when it comes to kind of oil demand, with kind of advance of EVs, do you think that we will see a kind of abrupt change or a gradual change and decline in demand?
I do believe it is gradual, but faster than a lot of people, I'll say with all the humility in this conference, believe. It's faster than what people believe. I can just only give an example or two of that. We recently announced a deal with Bombardier Transport. That's for electrification of trains. There is a myth in the world that trains are all electric or predominantly electric. That isn't true. In this country, electrification is around 42% in UK, 40% in France, Germany, 37% in Spain. The rest of the electrification is not electrification, it's diesel locomotive. If you replace that with batteries, you're talking about significant reduction in consumption of diesel just from railway sector. I can say the same thing for buses, marine vessels, trucks, etc. So the demand in quantum, in aggregate, is set to fall faster. I don't think it's abrupt, but it's faster than most people are anticipating.
Great, well, that's something to think about. Thank you very much, Anil.
Thank you.